Hello students, welcome to this PowerPoint presentation on the topic Human Geography, Nature and Scope from the NCERT text class 12th chapter 1. Although the topic is about human geography, but let me give you an overview about geography as an independent discipline. Geography is basically divided into two main branches, that is physical geography and human geography. Geography is basically a science that is concerned with the study of Earth and its land features, inhabitants, and phenomena. It is integrative, empirical, and practical subject that studies each and every event or phenomena which varies over space and time. Now, under physical geography, we are basically concerned about the physical features of the earth, such as mountains, plains, atmosphere, soils, etc. On the other hand, geography, say basically the human geography, is the study of mankind over the surface of the earth and the spatial distribution of the human phenomena. Further, these two main branches have their sub branches as well. The branches under physical geography are biogeography, climatology, coastal geography, environmental geography, geomorphology, glaciology, hydrology, oceanography, and paleography. Under human geography, we include cultural geography, developmental geography, economic geography, medical geography, historical geography, political geography, population geography, demography, transportation, and urban geography. Now moving on to the content ahead, let me explain you the concept of dualism in geography. Geography got subjected to dualism means that there are two views on the subject. On one hand, it gives importance to social aspects, and on other hand, it gives importance to humans. If you take into account, there was an emphasis on the study of nature and human beings. The subject was strongly dominated by dualism, and there were wide ranging debates whether geography as a discipline should be your lawmaking or it should be descriptive, whether its subject matter should be organized, and approaches of the study should be regional or systematic, whether geographical phenomena be interpreted theoretically or through your historic institutional approach. These have been issues for intellectual exercise. But finally, it was concluded that both physical and human phenomena are coexisting. They cannot be separated from one another. And at times, they are described in the metaphors using symbols from human anatomy. We often talk about face of the earth, eye of a storm, mouth of the river, snout of the glacier, or neck of an isthmus, and profile of soil. Similarly, regions, villages, and towns have been described as organisms. German geographers described the state, country, as well as local governing areas as living organisms. Networks of roads, railways, and waterways have been described as arteries of circulation. We may collect number of such terms from various examples and from various languages, where you can find that both humans and environment, they are complementary to each other and they are always supportive. Now let us discuss something about nature of human geography. Human geography studies the interrelationship between the physical environment and the socio-cultural environment, which is created by human beings through mutual interaction with each other. The elements like villages, cities, road rail networks, etc., and all other elements of material culture have been created by human beings using the resources provided by the physical environment. Thus, in the saying of LNC sample, human geography is the study of changing relationship between understanding sorry unresting man and unstable earth. Now moving ahead with the content, let us discuss the three main theories under human geography, which include theory of environmental determinism, theory of environmental possibilism, and lastly the theory of neo-determinism. Let us come up with the first theory, that is the theory of environmental determinism, that is also called as naturalization of humans. The theory begins that human beings interact with their physical environment with the help of technology. It is not important what human beings produce and create, but it is extremely important with the help of what tools and techniques do they produce and create. Technology indicates the level of cultural development of society. Human beings were able to develop technology after they developed better understanding of natural laws. This could be further studied with few examples. When you take into account, there's a great relation between technology and development of an area. The cited slide, when we talk about Africa, is a continent with best of the natural resources available. Some of the valuable resources like diamond, gold, and crude oil. But if you look at the state of the continent, most of the countries in this continent are underdeveloped. The reason, they do not have a sound technological know-how to make utilize of these existing resources, and hence they tend to be poor and underdeveloped. Just opposite to it, doesn't contrast country Japan. This particular country is a combination of 3 to 4 islands: Honshu, Hokkaido, Yokohama, and if we trace the history, this country was in rebels during World War II. But in spite of having very poor resource base, the country leads the world economy in terms of technological development, and that is very well reflected in the living standard of the people and the economical growth of the nation. So it is very well explained that yes, technology helps you to make optimum use of the natural resources available, and the development a country can attain just by having sound technology and making use of these valuable resources to get an optimum output for human well-being. Further, human beings, just by having a close interaction with nature and understanding natural laws, were able to discover and develop new ways of life and to make their living on this beautiful planet Earth more cozy and comfortable. Let us take with the simple and very common principle of friction. It's very true, when you rub your hands together, you feel warmth, right? The same principle was picked by early man when he happened to see two rolling stones downhill, and a spark broke out and there was fire in the entire forest. This simple idea of friction helped him to discover fire, and discovery of fire brought revolution in man lifestyle, isn't it? Second example, if you cite, that is the structure of DNA. That is knowledge of DNA. As all of us know, that DNA is an essential substance in any organism's body, which helps him to inherit the characteristics from one generation to another. But for researchers and scientists, the simple analysis of DNA structures helped them to conquer many diseases. Yes, again, interacting with natural laws helped man to conquer disease. Third, the concept of aerodynamics. Well, your formula racing cars, your fighter planes, and even your common vehicles, they are designed aerodynamically. The reason is to provide you speed and smooth movement. And this idea of aerodynamics again has been picked from the natural laws of aerodynamics, that is, man got inspired by birds. And if you just try to observe birds, you will notice that they follow the concept of aerodynamics, and they have got number of adaptations in their bodies to make themselves adaptive to the aerial habitat. Same points were picked by the scientists when they went for designing big air navigation equipments. You can see that knowledge about nature is extremely important to develop technology, and technology loosens the shackles of environment on human beings. In the early stage of their interaction with their natural environment, humans were greatly influenced by it. They adapted to the dictates of nature. This is so because the level of technology was very low, and the stage of human social development was also primitive. This type of interaction between primitive human society and strong forces of nature were termed as the concept of environmental determinism. Now let's move to the second theory, that is the theory of environmental possibilism. This theory was put forward by Vidal de Lablache, a renowned geographer. According to him, with the passage of time, people began to understand their environment and the forces of nature very well. With social and cultural development, humans develop better and more efficient technology. They move from a stage of necessity to a stage of freedom. They create possibilities with the resources obtained from the environment. The human activities create cultural landscape. The imprints of human activities are created everywhere. For example, health resorts on highlands, huge urban areas, field, orchards, and pasture lands in plains, and rolling hills, ports, mining areas, fisheries, oceanic routes on the oceanic surface, and satellite in space. The earlier scholars termed this as the concept of possibilism, which simply speaks that nature provides opportunities and human beings make use of these, and slowly nature gets humanized and starts bearing the imprints of human. Now, dear students, let's discuss the third theory under human geography, that is the theory of neo-determinism. This theory was put forward by Griffith Taylor. He introduced this concept and he refers it as the Madhyam Marga, or it is midway between the two ideas of environmental determinism and possibilism. Thus, he termed it as neo-determinism or stop and go determinism. Those of you who live in cities and those who have visited a city might have seen that traffic is regulated by traffic lights on the crossroad. Red light means go, amber light provides a gap between red and green lights to get set, and green light means go. The concept shows that neither there is a situation of absolute necessity, that is environmental determinism, nor there is a condition of absolute freedom, that is possibilism. It means that human beings can conquer nature by obeying it. They have to respond to the red signals and can proceed in their pursuits of development when nature permits the modifications. It means that possibilities can be created within the limits which do not damage the environment, and there is no free run without accident. The free run which the developed economies attempt to take has already resulted in some of the environmental problems such as ozone layer depletion, global warming, receding of glaciers, and degrading lands. The neo-determinism conceptually attempts to bring a balance and nullifying either or dichotomy. Now let's proceed to the concluding topic of today's lesson, that is history of human geography, or say human geography through the corridors of time. The process of adaptation, adjustment with the modification of the environment started with the appearance of human beings over the surface of the earth in different ecological nicks. But earlier there was a little interaction between different societies and the knowledge about each other was limited because there were no means of transport and communication developed. It was only travelers and explorers used their knowledge and their experiences to disseminate the information about different places they visit or they visited. But the navigational skills were not so well defined and well developed, and even the voyages were fraught with dangers. The late 15th century witnessed attempts of explorations in Europe, and slowly the myths and mysteries about countries and people started to open up. That is how it happened when number of the sea voyages were planned by the European colonizers to find new destinations, whether be Marco Polo, Prince Henry, Vasco da Gama, they went for finding new lands, and that is how the entire world came to know about some of the new continents in the region. In the colonial period, there was a great impetus to further exploration in order to assess the resources of the regions and to obtain best out of these unknown areas or newly recognized regions. The interaction here, the intention here is not to present an in-depth historical account, but just to make you aware of the processes of the steady development of human geography in different periods of history. Well, there are some well-known schools which developed in different periods of history. The first school is the welfare or humanistic school of thought in human geography, which is mainly concerned with different aspects of social well-being of the people. This includes aspects such as housing, health and education. Geographers have already introduced a paper of geography of social well-being in the postgraduate curriculum. Then the second school was radical school of thought, employed Marxist theory to explain the basic causes of poverty, deprivation, and social inequality. Contemporary social problems were related to the development of capitalism. The last school was the school of behavioral thought. Behavioral school of thought laid great emphasis on the lived experiences and also on the perception of space and social categories based on ethnicity, race, and religion. Then, now, dear students, human geography, as you have seen, attempts to explain the relationship between all elements of human life and the space they occur over. Thus, human geography assumes a highly interdisciplinary nature. It develops close interface with other sister disciplines in social science in order to understand and explain human elements on the surface of the earth. With the expansion of knowledge, new subfields emerge, and it has also happened to human geography. This could be easily understood with the table given, where you have got the fields of human geography, subfields of human geography, and the interface with sister disciplines of social sciences. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed the lesson and found it meaningful.